Welcome to the Japanese Nationality Room at the University of Pittsburgh. As I describe the room and move the 360-degree view about, I'll present some information about the architecture and some of the extra information one might expect to receive on a physical tour. The Japanese room was dedicated in 1999. It is designed to resemble a house. The style of architecture is known as minka, or a house of the people. It is not meant to show the upper echelons of Japanese society of the 18th century, but rather a home for a merchant, an artisan, or a farmer. In the details of this room, we have objects which remind us of all three. The structure was designed in Kyoto and built there. It was deconstructed and brought to Pittsburgh. Over one summer in 1999, 3 Japanese carpenters put the room back together. So precise were the measurements taken months before that the structure made in Japan nestled perfectly within the existing Cathedral of Learning classroom. If one were to open the shoji panel windows, one could see the slight gap between the walls of the Japanese room and the walls and windows of the cathedral. Unlike true mulberry fiber paper, these shoji are made of a translucent plastic for long wear. During a trip to Japan to find design inspiration, the team visited a man who had the massive pine log that would become the Ushabari beam, which is the load-bearing beam in the front of the room. He felt that after keeping the log for 15 years, this project was the best use of it. Japanese pine is throughout the room, as is bamboo and tatami mats. The many merchants with whom the committee worked to have an accurate rendition of such a house is remarkable, even down to a local woodworker of renown, who contributed time and expertise to the creation of the display cases. It is in the display cases that the only modern means of mechanically attaching wood to itself is seen. No bolts or nails keep the beams together. Instead, we see traditional means of fixing pieces together, such as the mortise and tenon and cross-lap joints, seen in the ceiling or the load-bearing beam and post. The Tokobashira is the terminal location of the tokonoma, and its presence is marked off by a specially prepared or different type of wood. This is so because of an identification with nature and the relationship to the approaching of something or someone of divine nature. The spirit of the natural world is referenced in the uniqueness and liveliness of such a pillar. Sometimes the pillar may have had its bark left on, or have the gnarled appearance of great age. The Tokobashira in this room is immediately apparent as it is a beautifully figured piece of ebony wood. Bamboo, which is a very strong material, creates the ceiling above the cross-lapped beams. It represents the floor for the second story of the house. In the winter at New Year's, there is a kadomatsu displayed in this room. It is an arrangement of pine, bamboo, and plum sprigs. Pine represents longevity and the spirits. Bamboo is for prosperity and good fortune. And the plum blossoms exhibit fortunate times, since it blooms so early in the year. Other plants are obliquely shown in the several tatami mats, which are kept in the display cases and the tokonoma, or the location wherein an artwork or family heirloom would be kept. The tatami mats are made of woven rush straw over a rice straw core, traditionally. Not necessarily would the floor be covered entirely with mats, but could be at the time that this room represents. Other zones within the room include the doma, akin to a semi-outside porch area. Poured concrete in this section is meant to show the earthen characteristic of the original setting, while the interior wooden floor is supposed to show the elevated interior of the house, known as the ima. Besides these materials, which allude to mercantile and agricultural activity, the display cases show various artworks and handicraft that introduce us to the artisan's area of manufacture. A rotating selection of woodblock prints, known as ukiyo-e, are shown in the upper shelf of one case, while the tools of brush painting and calligraphy are shown in the other. Ukiyo-e are a type of block print that were popular and mass-produced images of many facets of Japanese life. They were popular from the 1700s through the 1800s. The perspective effects, lovely patterns, and asymmetric compositions have had long-lasting influences upon other art throughout the world. Images of Hiroshige and Hokusai woodblock prints are at the end of this video and represent some of the artists whose prints are shown in the Japanese room. The tools of brush painting, which appear next to an illustrated scroll of the tale of Genji, are the ink stick, various brushes, and the ink stone, or Suzuri stone, upon which the fragrant and resinous dry ink stick is hydrated and ground to make the liquid ink. Calligraphy and poetry are shown in the books that are exhibited in the cabinet closest to the tokonoma, and in the tokonoma is always a landscape painting with a haiku poem upon it. The painting chosen always is of the season that we are currently experiencing. Objects associated with tea, its preparation and enjoyment are shown, as are seasonal festival objects, and sometimes the pull saws, adzes, and planes that were used by the carpenters to construct this room. Throughout the Japanese room, there are reminders of how craftsmanship, artistry, and natural materials combine to show how one might have lived and used such a space years ago. Such a mixture of purpose and aesthetics make for a room of quiet harmony. There is much more to the Japanese room, and it is hoped that you will visit it sometime in the future and consider enjoying some of the events and lectures throughout the year which illuminate aspects of Japanese culture and achievements.